What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. So guys, carrier burnout is a thing, okay? Basically, it leads to us taking unscheduled time off, okay? I'm not against it personally, as long as you're not a carrier who abuses it, okay? So what do I mean by carrier burnout, right? But before I get there, Tacs. Guys, Tacs is the timing, our time cards, how we get paid, okay? That's how they keep track of what routes we move throughout the day, if we move to the street, if we move back to the office. Everything that has to do with our time record keepings is Tacs, okay? So the Tacs system, up until about a month ago, all EAS supervisors were able to change your clock rings, okay? That was a big thing because a couple months ago, maybe 6 months ago, there was a huge things where supervisors were falsifying our clock rings. Okay, they do that by entering Tacs. Okay, the way that they were falsifying clock rings, which I'm digressing a little bit, they were changing our office time. Okay, so as soon as we hit 1 hour, they will move us to the street. Okay, whether we were still in the office or not. Okay, I caught one of my supervisors doing it. I brought it to the attention of my shop steward, and they settled. Okay, but it was happening throughout the nation. What they were doing was changing those times to make it look like every office in America was making a 1 hour office time, and that's why it's such a big thing today. Okay, I digress. That's important though, because today Tacs has been given back to the APWU lead clerks. Okay, so now only a clerk can edit your clock ring. Okay, so if you miss a clock scan, if you don't change your route, if you don't change to the street, if you come in late, okay, now you got to fill out a 1260, you got to hand it to your supervisor, and now your supervisor has to hand it to a clerk so the clerks can adjust our clock ring. Supervisors no longer have that access, which is great for us. That's a huge win by the APWU because it helps us, the carriers. Okay, guys, carrier burnout. Okay, it is a real thing. Okay, what happens is there has to be a realization of being a city letter carrier that there's only so many days in a row that we can work 10, 11, 12 hours, including our non-scheduled days. Okay, guys? If we're working 6 days a week and we only get Sundays off, okay, it does something to us physically, mentally, and spiritually. Okay. If you're like me, you understand that this is just a job. Okay? And what that means is that it's only one hat that you wear. Okay, you can be a father, you can be an uncle, you can be a volunteer, you can be a community activist, you could be a church leader, you could be a big brother of America. You can do so many things other than this job. Okay, so when you add everything else that you do in your life, including working 10 to 12 hours, 6 days a week, something can happen to you. Okay, something can happen where you just mentally break down. You need a day for mental health, or you put too much work, too much strain on your legs or your knees, and you wake up one morning and you say, you know what, I need to bang out, right? If you don't know what that means, you call off, right? So the easiest way that I do it is if you go to light blue, you go to the ELRA tab, which is in my apps, employee apps, and you fill out a virtual 3971, and basically you're requesting unscheduled time off. Okay, basically you're calling out sick, you're using AL, you're asking for LWOP, or you're going to use FMLA, right? Now, a lot of carriers get upset when other carriers call out, but what I'm telling you is it's completely understandable. If you've been working, okay, for example, I've been working hard for the last 6 months. Peak season came, peak season has gone, but although the mail volume is not as heavy as some have seen it in the past, the work is still there. All right, guys, don't forget, I don't know about your zone, but my zone, I can have 4 carriers off on every day, which means there's supposed to be 4 jumpers. Okay, if there's a jump that's not bidded on, that's one less jumper. That's one less person to cover that route. So then what happens is that route goes up to overtime. So every day there's a certain amount of overtime being distributed to the guys on the overtime list. So if you're constantly, being bombarded with overtime, you become one of them carriers that can have a carrier burnout, right? So is it always based upon people that call out that create overtime? No, there could just be staff shortages. You know what I mean? Anyway, if you're hungry like I am, and you're working every single day, if you have to bang out every once in a while, I don't have any issue with it. Okay, it's the carriers that call out, 3 or 4 times a week. Those are the ones that kind of get the side eye. But I'm all for the carriers. You can never be wrong in my eyes. Okay, so what are some tips and tricks if you're gonna bang out? The number one tip that I can offer anyone is you can use one call out for multiple days. Okay, I've never done it. I've banged out probably 6 times throughout my career. A couple of those were because of car issues. Some of them I was sick, and some I was just mentally burned out and physically burned out. So what you could do is take up to 2 days with one call out, and you only get charged for one call out. This is a great tip for anyone that needs 2 days off in a row. Just be careful not to do it too close to your day off, because they could get you for a pattern. Well, your shop steward could fight that anyway if you don't call out frequently. Number 2 is, if you ask for more than 2 days off at any given time, then your supervisor has the discretion to ask you for a doctor's note. Before that, if you request less than 2 days, 3 days, you can just write your own note and say I was sick. Okay. There's been arbitrations nationally that have sided with the carrier that says if the Postal Service wants a doctor note after 3 days, the Postal Service has to pay for the carrier to go to the doctors to get a note. That's getting real deep into it, but if you get to that point, there are arbitrations that you can follow and find on the internet that show that the arbitrator sided with the carrier. And I think that the arbitrator sided with the carrier because this is a real thing. If you work this job 20 years and you've come in 6 days a week consistently, you're doing so much damage to your body, not only physically, but like I said, mentally and spiritually. There's just so much a person can take before they need to slow down and take a break, right? So then what happens to carriers that, come to work every day? You guys get the bulk of all this overtime. Okay, it's a good thing and it's a bad thing because you too could become burnt out. So it's important, guys. It's extremely important that you take your scheduled time off, that you schedule correctly, alongside with taking breaks throughout the year. You could prevent mental anguish, and you could buy special shoes to prevent the physical breakdown of your feet. There's a lot of walking, consistent walking, same angles, same steps, especially when you have the same route if you're not a jumper. So anything to mitigate these things, that's in your personal control. I know people don't want to spend their own money, but you know what? I got a funny joke, right? I say I buy a $200 pair of shoes once, right? And that $200 investment makes me $70K, right? Because by walking in those shoes, I get to perform this job, right? And that's a little way to think about it. But the allotment is not enough every year to get more than one pair of shoes. So that's maybe something that you might just want to invest for your health, because last thing you want to do is have some foot planchitis problem down the road. Guys, I'm not against banging out, especially if you need it. Carriers, sometimes we need to mind our business with other carriers that are calling out. You never know what's going on in their life. You don't know if they have a sick family member. You don't know if they have an illness. It's not our business. Okay, at the end of the day, that's between that carrier, management, and the union. However, guys, do not feel guilty. Do not feel like you are letting everyone else down because you need to take a day for yourself. The worst thing you could do is push yourself to the limit where you hurt yourself and you get sick and you're out for a week in the hospital trying to recover. That's pretty much all I got, guys. Just be careful. Still, safety is out here. There was a carrier who got robbed in my installation yesterday, and they got a lot of her personal stuff, and they got some packages and some mail. Just be careful, guys. Safety starts with us. Slow down, okay? The only thing the post office cares about is us being safe and limiting accidents. Accidents could be vehicle accidents or carrier accidents, when you slip and trip and fall. And they want to worry about efficiency, all right? Making sure that we're getting our route done in the best possible time frame, and make sure we're not lollygagging out here. All right, guys, until next time, I'll be here, you'll be here. Until next time, I'll be here and you'll be there. All right, peace.